Well, hello, everyone. This is John Byrne with Poets&Quants. This is our webinar on Gies's IMBA and online degree programs. We're lucky to have Brooke Elliott, who is the Associate Dean of Online MBA, actually all online programs at the Gies College of Business at the University of Illinois. Welcome, Brooke.
Thanks, John. Thanks for having me today.
Absolutely. Now, I just want to give people an overall outline of the program because when it was launched in 2016, we said it was one of the most disruptive innovations in graduate management education ever. And just to remind people, it was launched at a price tag of $22,000, which was incredibly disruptive. And it was launched with Coursera, the very popular higher education provider of MOOCs. And it was a redesigned MBA program from the ground up. I mean, they literally took a blank sheet of paper and said, what should an online MBA program look like? And then went at it. And since then, from 2016, this fall, Gies will have a student enrollment of up to 4,000 in the IMBA program, which clearly makes it the fastest growing MBA program on the planet, which is also something we've written about because that's been true for a number of years, particularly at a time when applications to many full-time MBA programs have declined and some schools have shut down their programs. So if you had to say, what is the secret sauce to the program's success, Brooke, what would it be?
Yeah, thanks, John. Whenever I think about, we have had tremendous success and tremendous growth, and I really believe it's all about access and affordability. When I think about what we do and I talk about our mission is to provide accessible, affordable, high quality business education to all those that desire it and are committed to pursuing it. And so we've broken down the traditional barriers of access and affordability to high quality business education. And amazing things happen when you remove those traditional barriers.
Yeah, that's really true. And we should point out that the program was launched at a land-grant public university,
yes,
whose mission is to make higher education accessible to large numbers of people. So this fell right within the heart of the university's mission. And because it was online, you had the opportunity to really reinvent what you were doing and the cost of it. And we know there are many other programs out there that, frankly, they're in six figures. So at 22, it's just a remarkable value for money. And, it had to take a lot of investment, however, to get off the ground. I know you have a bunch of studios. You're in one of them right now.
I am.
And plus you had to train faculty to do this because in the beginning, of course, the faculty that you would have would all be accustomed to traditional education. So that was a whole big undertaking as well.
Yeah, positively. Yeah, and you're exactly right, John. We're a land grant institution. And so when I talk about, our mission and online programs is providing affordable and accessible, high quality business education, that's true of our institution, right, of the University of Illinois. And so it makes it really easy when it's mission consistent, right? What we're doing is mission consistent with the University of Illinois. And so it's kind of a no-brainer. It's what we were created to do. And I think this is an outstanding example of Gies delivering on that mission of the university. You're right, though. It required a large investment, and an investment early on. So we launched the program in 2016. We started with only 114 degree-seeking students, but the investment started well before that. Years leading up to that launch in 2016, we invested and built out an e-learning team within the Gies College of Business. And at that time, it was almost unheard of. That's typically a centralized resource that serves an entire campus. But we knew because this program was designed to be online that we needed the expertise in-house. And it's paid off huge for us. It allows us to continue to make investments, to continue to be innovative. I mean, we have the best e-learning team on the planet. That's what I like to say. Just, the expertise that they bring and the breadth and depth of knowledge. I mean, that is, when you ask what is our secret sauce, that is our secret sauce. And so it's just, I think it's the investment that we made early on and that we continue to invest in building out that team and building out those resources.
True. And I should mention that applications for the August cohort, which will be your next arriving class, closed on July 1st. You finished with over 2,500 applications, and your applications immediately opened for an October cohort, with the first application deadline being August 15th, I believe, right?
Correct. Yes, correct. And so if we look at applications year to date for that August cohort, as you said, it's over 2,500. That's a 35% year over year growth in applications, which just is tremendous in terms of continued demand for what we offer in terms of affordable, flexible, online, high quality business education. We immediately opened applications for an October cohort, and we've never ran an October cohort, but we made a decision in April and May, in the midst of a pandemic, that we wanted to provide opportunities for individuals to continue to pursue this type of education. And we thought, there's a lot of uncertainty, and there continues to be uncertainty in the environment, and by increasing the number of intakes, the number of times throughout a year when an individual or a learner can start our program, again, it's really very consistent with our mission of access, openness, and flexibility. And we already have 160 applications for that October cohort.
Wow. Okay, so as everyone knows, many business schools in general, universities all over the world, are going largely to a hybrid format. When the pandemic disrupted academic instruction in the spring, most schools had to immediately transition to remote learning. So there is some familiarity with what an online class might be. But I want to make the point that there's a tremendous difference between what we would call remote learning versus online education. Explain the difference, Brooke.
Yeah, sure. So, our program is online by design. And of course, we have remote instruction at the University of Illinois as well. In the spring, just like everyone else, right? We had to very quickly transition our residential courses, both at the undergraduate and graduate levels, to a remote learning environment. And again, we leveraged the expertise of that amazing e-learning team. Nonetheless, what we offer in a remote environment is not what we offer in our suite of online graduate degree programs. And when I talk about online by design, it means several things. As you mentioned, John, we started with a blank slate. And so from a curriculum perspective, we thought carefully about, we knew we were going to offer a program that served working professionals, that curriculum needed to be career curated, that it needed to be flexible and accessible. And so just as an example, when we design a course to be delivered online, from the very beginning, the faculty member is paired with an instructional designer, and they spend hours and hours and hours together to design the course to be delivered online. And we start with learning outcomes. The assessments are different in a residential environment than in an online environment. The types of activities need to be structured differently, because to have an engaging environment online versus what might be considered engaging residentially, it is quite different. And I'll just give you a few facts. So whenever we develop massive open online courses as part of each high engagement credit bearing course that's delivered on the Coursera platform. For a 4-week MOOC, which typically would be associated with a 2 credit hour course, that takes somewhere between 300 and 350 hours of e-learning investment, and 60 to 80 hours of faculty investment. And so it is a laborious process, but it's critical, and that investment pays off in the quality of the online education that our students experience.
Yeah, this is totally different than clicking a button and you're on Zoom. Okay.
Yeah.
This is a well planned out course, well designed for the online environment, unlike remote instruction, which is merely, I'm going to now deliver the same course I've delivered all my life, and I'm just going to do it on Zoom. And sure, maybe I have a breakout room here or there. Maybe I throw a quiz at you, but that is not a well-designed online course.
No,
I want to go back to one of the things you said that I think
Sure.
is really interesting. When a professor sits down with an instructional designer, the first thing they attack are what are the learning objectives of the course. So right
Correct.
away, you're forced to think about the student and what you want the student to learn in the course. And while it may seem surprising to many to think that that is not what happens in a traditional academic environment, it's really true. What happens in traditional academic environment, and let me just say this for you,
Yeah.
and you can amplify on it, is look, you're a professor, you know your subject inside and out, and you're teaching it from your perspective, not the student's perspective. And that's what happens more often than not. In the online process, you start with the student, not the professor.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. And, for us in particular, we know the audience that we serve, right? And so for our students, they are on average age is 37, average years of work experience is 12. And so we start with, what do they want to do? We know that they want to come, they want to learn, and they want to be able to immediately take what they learn, those skills, and apply it in their job the next day or the next week. They want an immediate return on investment. And so that's reflected in the learning objectives that the faculty member and the instructional designer, start with in terms of course development. And you're exactly right. From an engagement perspective, it's not just Zoom, right? We use Zoom in remote instruction as well. And we do use Zoom in our online programs, and we use breakout rooms. We run live sessions, so multiple live sessions across multiple time zones, right, to provide that flexibility. Each of our online courses has an embedded group component. So we have group case studies, and we've developed internally an algorithm to form groups, right? It's really difficult to form groups whenever you're forming groups with individuals from all over the world, from 100 different countries across multiple time zones. But all of that is carefully thought out. And one other distinction between a course that's online by design versus remote instruction, I've taught residentially, and typically I'm at least 1 to 2 class sessions ahead of my students, right? But in an online course, you don't have that luxury. Everything is, you make an investment up front, and everything is planned out from the very beginning so that you can anticipate the entire student experience. And it makes for, I think, a richer environment, and in particular, a richer learning environment.
Right. And I think it's interesting that, when most universities went to Zoom learning, remote instruction, there was high level of dissatisfaction from the students. Now, part of that was, you were there for an on-campus experience, and suddenly
That's right.
the rug got pulled out from under you. Another part of it is you had a lot of faculty who were totally unaccustomed to teaching online, and didn't even know how to put a computer on pretty much. And suddenly they were thrust into this new environment. And third, it was because it was remote instruction, and it really wasn't not an online course.
That's right.
And I think it's worth mentioning here the kind of satisfaction levels that your surveys have shown for IMBA students, which are really off the charts.
Yeah. So, and I can share that. So you're exactly right. I think there were several reasons why people were unhappy with an experience of remote instruction. And part of it is faculty driven. Like, faculty were put into a situation where, they started to deliver a course that was designed to be delivered residentially, and they had to immediately shift to a remote environment. And I know a lot of campuses, including ours and including our college, we've made investments. We've run 2 online teaching academies this summer, and we've had over 80% faculty participation. And so faculty want to do well. They want to deliver well in a remote environment. The one surprising thing, or maybe not so surprising, is now several of those faculty are reaching out to me, and they want to deliver in the online environment. And it's great, right? So for me, it's a great problem to have. Faculty would prefer to deliver a course that's designed to be online, as opposed to one that's developed to be delivered residentially and then move to a remote environment. And you're exactly right. In terms of satisfaction, we survey our students constantly. And so our courses tend to run 8 weeks, 4 credit hour courses. We survey students every 8 weeks so that we can constantly collect feedback. And, we're on a mission of continuous improvement. 98% of our students are either extremely or very satisfied with our program. From an engagement perspective, 99% of our students say that our courses are engaging, and 92% say they're either very or extremely engaging. So from an engagement perspective, I would put those engagement stats up against any residential course, at all. And the other one that I'll point out is from a satisfaction perspective, 94% of our students say that they would highly recommend our program to someone else. And that comes back to like a net promoter score. And I think that's a great testament. And we see that. I mean, a lot of our growth, I think, in applications and also just our student satisfaction is because our students who are growing rapidly in numbers and our alums tell our story about accessibility, affordability, and quality. And so they're by far our greatest ambassadors.
I want to say that, I've had the opportunity to sit down with your students on at least 3 different occasions now. And the one thing that comes through to me is they all think the program is underpriced. They think they're getting so much value out of this that the school should actually charge more for it, which, when do you ever hear that?
Yeah, never. But I'll say I agree. So I think one of the most, rewarding things about this position is I get to go around the world and meet our students and have conversations. And every time I talk with one, the first question they tend to ask me is, how can I give back? Because they feel that they've gotten so much out of the program from a quality perspective, but from an affordability perspective. And the only other individuals I've heard that from, so John, as you know, prior to this, I was head of accountancy. And when I would talk to our alums from the 1960s, they would tell me the same thing because they had come from small farm towns around central Illinois, and the degree had changed their life and had changed the trajectory of their family's life. And I see that now with our program. I mean, it's pretty impactful when you hear a story about how what you've offered has either changed an individual's life or their entire family's trajectory from a professional and personal perspective. And so, that's what keeps me coming back to work every day.
Exactly. Besides, you love accounting.
I do love accounting, John. I have to work that in.
I've never met anyone who loved accounting more than you. So I want to go back, Brooke, to one thing you said, which really is important when you think about the differences between an online course and program versus remote instruction. And the word you used was engagement. And the statistics that you cited are really incredibly impressive. But I want to go back to that because the surveys of students, university students who had their schedules abruptly disrupted in the spring because of the pandemic, one of the things that they struggled with, in fact, was engagement. It was hard when you were removed from a classroom and from your classmates and your faculty members to basically stay engaged, particularly for a long period of time. And one of the important things about designing an online course and transmitting that learning are lots of little tricks. I mean, basically, all the research about learning essentially shows that we learn in chunks. And if you just keep chunking without intervention, we stop learning or we learn less. So could you explain a little bit, and this goes to the real advantage of online education, how the faculty and instructional designers work together to build that engagement through these tricks?
Yeah, positively, John. So you're right. I mean, typically as humans, we're very easily distracted, right? And so if someone wants to keep us engaged, it has to be purposeful. And so for us, that starts all the way from the development of the MOOC, of the massive open online course. The videos that are created for each module, they're strategically designed in terms of length, anywhere from 2 to 7 minutes. We don't just sit here and deliver them from the studio. And so we're out in the world. Some videos are shot in our sports stadiums on campus. One of our faculty member resides in Utah. And so he's all over the Utah landscape. And that's just another engaging component that may or may not be related to the content, but it's engaging. The types of assessments that we embed in the videos are another point of engagement. And sometimes it's just a knowledge check. Sometimes it's a mini application to make you think about the content that you've learned and can you apply it? And it also instills confidence. I mean, if you learn something over, let's say, 2 to 7 minutes, and you can immediately apply it, it gives students a desire to continue from a learning perspective. That's in the MOOC-based portion. And then the high engagement portions of each of our course, again, are designed to be online. So we do use Zoom technology, but we have strategically placed group breakouts. We have a running discussion board. We have polls throughout the courses that keep students engaged. And one thing I'll say, the difference between something that's designed to be online versus remote or residential education is students are very accountable. Right? And so we have tools, technological tools embedded where we know when they attend a live session. We know if they didn't attend a live session. We know if they downloaded the archived live session. We know how many times they participated in the discussion board. We know what the quality of their comments were when they participated in that discussion board. So, it's really amped up in terms of your accountability, the level at which you participate. And I think the thing that you do see is the network holds you accountable. So whenever I talk to students, what they say about our program is, the network is massive and expansive, and you have individuals from a diverse set of backgrounds from all over the world. And those individuals expect you to be engaged, committed, and contributing. And if you're not, they will call you out. And that's something I think that doesn't happen, in a residential environment, and typically not in a remote environment either.
In the data that you're collecting to determine engagement, obviously, when something isn't measured, it's not managed. And this is really an important point in all of management, which has been said by Peter Drucker many times. Once you have the data and you look at the data, it changes your behaviors.
That's exactly right.
So it helps the faculty member know whether he or she is connecting and when not, so that adjustments and pivots can be made. It also probably suggests that if in fact a student isn't attending or isn't looking at the archive sessions, they need to be pinged.
Yeah, that's right. And we do ping them. So to your point, I mean, we are a very data-driven unit. We have 2 fully embedded data scientists within online programs. And we utilize our data to ensure that we deliver engaging sessions to be able to track student performance. We know if a student hasn't watched a video, and we ping them and say, hey, we notice you haven't completed this portion of the MOOC. You should complete it. And from a high engagement perspective, we say, hey, we notice that you haven't attended any of the live sessions, nor have you watched the archive live sessions. Can we help you? Are you struggling at work? Is there a way, because of the flexibility, if this is not a great semester for you, we can enroll you in a similar course or in that same course in the next 8-week period. So that flexibility allows us to check in on our students, to encourage them to continue to engage. And if there's a reason they're not engaging, we have the flexibility to allow them to delay a bit. And that's one of the, I think, the great things about, our program as well from a flexibility perspective.
And in terms of your high engagement strategy, we should explain that, there are in fact some programs that are nothing more than you go online and there's video and assignments.
Yeah.
And then there are programs like yours that have live classes every single week with a professor who's in there and is engaging with the class. Can you just give us a sense for how much is live and how much is not live? And this is the difference between what's synchronous and asynchronous, which are 2 terms that you will constantly hear when you think about online programs, and 2 terms that are very hard to remember which way is which.
No, I agree. So each of our courses is a combination of synchronous and asynchronous learning. And, whenever I talk about the MOOC-based components, and that's what's hosted on Coursera, it's an engaging part, but it's a very small percentage of our overall course. I think about that portion as just a high-end digital textbook. So would you rather pick up a textbook and answer those knowledge check questions at the end of chapter 1, or would you rather engage in a series of, high definition movie production quality videos and learn in that way? But most of what happens in those live sessions and happens on our campus LMS. Which we use for all graduate programs that we deliver. And so, the type of assessments, again, they're designed to be online, but we host it on our own platform. And so that makes up the majority of what we deliver. And so it's not, Coursera is an amazing partner and we love that partnership. It's very mission consistent, but most of the degree course is not the content that's hosted on the Coursera platform. And in terms of engagement, we also provide, we don't require any on-campus visit, right? So a lot of online programs have a required on-campus immersion, or it requires that you come to campus, for a 2-week period, maybe over the course of your degree. We do not require that from a flexibility perspective. I mean, I think it's consistent with our mission of access, but we do provide opportunities. Every fall, we're able to host an event where we invite all of our online students back to campus called iConverge. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to hold that event this year, but we anticipated over 1,000 students to converge on Champaign-Urbana. And we also host meetups and immersions all over the world. And so this is something that's very popular. So we do provide those opportunities to engage in person and to meet the faculty and to meet the staff. It's just not a requirement of our program.
Right. And I also want to just go through a few other natural advantages to an online program. I mean, I think the number one advantage, frankly, is you don't have to quit your job. Yep. And therefore, you're not losing income while you're learning. That's and right. that's a big deal. I think the second thing is, as you pointed out before, what you learn in the classroom today, you can apply at work tomorrow. And that's a really big and important aspect of the education, because you see the immediate returns to your career and your effectiveness in the job, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you want to say more about that. Yeah. Because I think that's very valuable. And I'm sure you have many stories of students who've come and said, wow, that framework that I was taught in my marketing class, I went to work and immediately applied it and I wowed my boss.
Yeah, right? That's exactly right. So we hear stories all the time where students are able to take what they learned in class 1 week back to their job, and contribute positively to their unit or to their organization. And it just gives them a lot of confidence. I mean, I know we have a video actually around one of our students in the program who talked about the exposure to machine learning, who never thought she would have the ability to build that competency or that skill. And not only did she build that competency or that skill, it allowed her to take on a new project at work, that she would otherwise have not had that opportunity. And from a data perspective, again, we survey our students all the time. So, 95% of our students said that they are able to immediately take what they learn in the IMBA back to work. 53% receive a new job offer or a promotion during the program. So not upon completion of the program, which is when most programs measure success, but during the program. And the average raise during the IMBA program is 20%. So it is that immediate concrete return on investment.
And the third thing I want to say that's a real advantage, when you go into a regular program, and look, there are advantages and disadvantages on each side, and we want to talk about them as well. But when you take an online program, let's say you attend a class and you don't get something. Well, guess what? You can replay the video and absorb it at an entirely different level. And sometime the second time around or the third time around is the magic time.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. Actually, I was having a conversation with one of our students last week, and she was preparing for a final exam in one of our courses. And she said, I went back and watched all of the MOOC videos and went back and watched all of the archive recorded live sessions. And that's how she prepared for the final exam. And she said, I got so much more out of it the second time going through all that video. And, you can even speed it up to 1.5 or 2 times, right? So it can be a pretty efficient way to go through content, but that's positively, a benefit, I think, of an online program.
You know, one benefit that you might not think about, but in fact is very true, is in good online programs like the IMBA, there are office hours.
Yep.
And unlike traditional office hours on campus, where no students ever avail themselves of that opportunity,
Yeah.
when you have online office hours, you actually get some good discussions going on.
Yeah, but yeah, positively. And so, a faculty member just has the capacity to engage with so many more students and to respond to so many more questions in an online environment. And some of our faculty members do it in different ways. Sometimes they're just responding to a discussion board and having a conversation back and forth. Some choose to use Zoom technology, just like we do in our live classes, so that they can engage and call on students and read whether, they're actually getting the material or whether there needs to be further explanation. But it does allow, I think, greater access from a faculty perspective. And our faculty love nothing more than to engage with our students. I mean, the faculty in our program, they're our very best faculty. It's our tenured faculty, our top specialized faculty that deliver in this program. And they're proud, of Gies, and they're proud of what we're able to offer from a program perspective. And so, I think that access to faculty is something that does differentiate us.
And, even during the class, a live class, and I've had the opportunity to sit in the studio and watch a couple of your professors teach classes online. And here's what I will say about that. They have incredible passion. The coursework is very well planned out, as we spoke about before, in terms of the little tricks to make sure engagement is occurring. But it's a very personal and intimate experience. So in the one class that I sat in, for example, the professor is knowing people by their names, asking them how they're doing, where they are. One person was actually attending class from a car, which I'm sure is probably not exactly the best way to attend class. But nonetheless, I guess he was driving away from work or something and literally was attending class in a car. And it's funny because, when a person speaks, of course, on the screen, their image enlarges, right?
Yeah.
And so you literally are face to face as a faculty member with a student in ways that actually you would never even be that close, where you look right into their eyes and watch every little tick in their facial expression. It's remarkably intimate, given the fact that it's so far away from each other.
No, I agree. I think it is a very intimate experience, and you're right. Whenever the faculty member is delivering, they're blown up, right? So they're larger in life. I often, whenever I'm explaining what we do to someone outside of education, I say it's like the Peloton experience, right? So if I'm on a Peloton, that instructor is yelling at me to crank it up, right? Like, I'm pretty sure they're talking exactly to me, like, Brooke, you better get on it. And so it's just a different experience, and that's what we have in our classes. And to your point, the faculty members are very engaged, and they do know the students, and they call on them by name. And the story about the car, I mean, we have, it's like planes, trains, and automobiles a little bit. Like, we have students that are learning in all types of different modalities, and sometimes maybe safer than others. But I think that's a hallmark of what you can do in online education. It really does provide equity, because we bring the learning to the student wherever they are. And sometimes, because of schedules, whether it's personal schedule or professional schedule, the best you can do is learn from the airport or attend a live session, on the train. And our program provides that level of flexibility. And even, there are differences in learning styles. Some people learn better by watching video. Some people learn better by reading text. And we provide all of that optionality because we want to make it accessible in that way as well. All of our courses are ADA compliant. We have a fully dedicated team within e-learning, a set of individuals who are focused on ADA compliance. And then we also partner with an outside institution to audit all of our content for ADA compliance. And so it's really about bringing equity and serving students where they are.
Now, let's address some of the misgivings that some people have about online programs. I think the biggest misgiving is, I'm not going to know my classmates. And therefore, when I graduate from the program, I won't have that natural network of support and encouragement throughout my career. What do you say about that, Brooke?
Yeah, I mean, I probably can't use the word that's in my mind, but like that's not true. So, I think whenever I talk to the students, and you've talked to our students, John, and you've talked to our alums, typically the number one thing they say they value is the network that they build, right? So just think about it. In the fall, we're going to have nearly 4,000 enrolled degree students. That is their network. They have access to a massive set of MBA alums from the University of Illinois. They're building that network. They learn the other students' names and intimately know them, right, through live class sessions, through the group work, through these different events that some of them choose to attend. And it's really cool whenever you see them come together. I mean, I see them engage all the time. So I see them engage in different virtual events that we have, we have virtual happy hours, right? And it's like, they're best buddies, and they may have never actually like touched one another physically, right? But they're like long lost friends. And when you do get a chance to see them, when they come back for graduation or iConverge, like they'll run across the atrium and hug one another in non-pandemic COVID times, right? I mean, like they really, they build a deep friendship. And I think one really cool thing about our network is it is global. And not that other MBA programs don't have a global network, but this distinction is important. If you're pursuing a residential MBA, everyone converges in a single location, right? And for that period, over a 2-year period typically, your experience is together in a given city. That's not true of our students. They are literally working and living all over the world. And so you may be in a live session or in a group. You could be here in Champaign-Urbana, and you could be with an individual in the UAE. And that individual woke up in the UAE and understands, what are the political ramifications? What's the culture like? What's it like going to work as an executive in the UAE relative to what it's like to get up and go to work in Champaign-Urbana? And that's something that other networks just can't bring. And so, it's just not true.
That's true. And I just want to say, too, that because of the price point and the quality of the program being delivered at that price point and the overall reputation of the University of Illinois, you're able to have far more participation from international students than many other online MBA programs, which tend to draw regionally.
Yes.
And there's no doubt about that. In fact, I had the benefit of coming to campus during iConverge, and I met this incredible guy, an Egyptian who worked in the Middle East for General Motors, who was among the most enthusiastic students I've ever met in any MBA program at any campus. And he did exactly what you said. There were people running across campus to hug him and say hello, because this is the first opportunity we had to meet him, which is amazing. Now, what about the whole notion of, look, there's no doubt, and you cited great statistics, that an online MBA program will help you in your current job.
That's right.
You're highly likely to get increased responsibility. Majority of people get a promotion. Many get an increase in pay, and you cited the number of 20% increase. What about for the career switcher? Is an online MBA best suited for a career switcher or not?
Yeah, I think just as much as any other MBA, and perhaps more in ours because, again, of the network. And so, one thing that you see, so 2 strategies that we have where I really think our program is suited for career switchers. You do have access to this amazing network. Average age is 37, average years of work experience is 12. That means that they are managers and executives of top companies across the world, right? We have 739 current students and or alums in the Fortune 500. So if you want access to that type of career switch and that type of opportunity, the network is there. And I see it, we use Workplace, which is a Facebook app, as our social media platform within the program. And there are opportunities every day that are shared out. And sometimes it's an individual saying, hey, I'm looking to make a career pivot, and this is what I'm looking for. And almost immediately you see several students respond, hey, we have that type of opportunity in my organization. I would love to have a fellow IMBA student join us. So I think it's leveraging that network. The other thing that we've just done recently, we just hired a career strategist. And so we are very committed from an innovation perspective to building out a robust career service approach to serving online students at scale. And sometimes it is that they're looking for a new opportunity within their current organization. Sometimes it is that they want a career pivot. A lot of times though, it's just that they're looking for professional development opportunities like any MBA student would be seeking. But our ability to do that at scale will be critical for us to continue to serve the growing number of professionals that we attract.
Now, Brooke, there's one stat that you have on the website, and I would just tell everyone out there that you recently put up a lot of data on a newly revived website, which is filled with a lot of good detail, including, the different companies
That's right.
that employ many of your students. One stat that really stood out for me was, as you pointed out, the average years of work experience for a student is nearly 12, but there was one student who had 43 years of experience and 70 years old. Now, what do you make of that?
Well, I think it's that we provide an affordable and accessible program. And so, the other thing, we've talked about the international reach, but also it's just the diversity and backgrounds that we attract, right? And so sometimes it's from an age perspective. I mean, we've had an admiral in the Navy enrolled in our program who was actually enrolled with his son at the same time. We've had applicants, I think actually in this cycle, there was an individual who was over 80 years old and said, this is my last opportunity to pursue graduate business education. But we provide that type of accessibility, I think, that attracts individuals from an age perspective across all age brackets. And from a background perspective, I think that's what's most impressive. I mean, we have executives in the Fortune 100, 500, 1,000 companies. We also have individuals, we have entrepreneurs. The entrepreneurs would have never stepped aside from their pursuit to pursue graduate business education, but now they can, right? And so they bring an immense amount of knowledge and entrepreneurial spirit to our program. We have farmers from Central Illinois, right, that again, never thought they would have the opportunity because they can't afford to step away from what they do day to day, but they still really value that knowledge. And so it's the diversity in backgrounds that we attract by offering a flexible, affordable, and accessible program really brings together just a rich set of individuals with a rich set of experiences. And I think it makes our network really unmatched.
So let's talk a little bit about how the IMBA has evolved since its creation and the launch in 2016. What are some things that have changed that people would be interested in knowing about?
Well, sure. Well, we're a lot bigger. And so, but what that brings with us is we've had to continually innovate from a class size perspective. We started with a total enrollment of 114 students. In spring of 2020, we were at 2844, and we're going to near 4,000 in the fall. And that means we have to continually innovate to ensure that we deliver the same student and educational experience at scale, at the scale that we operate at now versus the scale that we started at. And so we've continued to invest in new technologies, in new ways to engage students. I think if you go back 3 to 4 years, Zoom was probably a pretty engaging technology, but now like everyone uses Zoom, right? And honestly, we all have Zoom fatigue. So we've continued to, invest in ways. I mean, we're experimenting now with the chatbot. I'm having a conversation later today about the use of a virtual TA. And so, we just, from a technology perspective, we've continued to invest. From a curriculum perspective, we continue to innovate. And so last year we launched, actually 2 years ago, about a year and a half ago, we launched a business analytics focus area. And that really came from just a demand from our students to build out a skill set. And so we listen to our students and we provide those content updates.
And
in the spring, we're going to,
right? That's one of several focus areas.
Yeah, that's one of several focus areas. That's exactly right. And we're getting ready to add a new inclination or a new kind of offering, which is a create your own focus area, because we want to ensure that we are able to add courses that meet the demands of our current students and prospective students. We're going to add a course this spring in project management and around agile project management, which we've continued to hear from students. We're also within the next 12 months going to launch a course around technology and disruption. And students will be able to use that new innovation from a create your own focus area perspective to take these electives and put together something that perhaps is more curated for them and can help them achieve, their professional goals.
Right. And you have a skills academy that's relatively new. Describe what that is.
Yeah, so, outside of the degree space, when I think about, our prospective students and our current students, we want to serve them throughout their lifelong learning journey. And so whenever they want to be upskilled, when they want to build a new skill, I want them to come back to Gies. And so we've started to build out a portfolio of offerings outside of the degree space. The newest offering is called the Skills Academy, and it's very focused. It's more bite-sized content. It's very skills focused. So you can think about a typical degree course will have a mix of skill and theory. This offering is very skills focused with embedded application practice. It's completely self-paced, but you can learn a skill in as little as 30 minutes and as long as 6 hours. And it's something where you can, again, practice that application. You walk away with a badge, right? So you can actually put it out on LinkedIn and show that you have that skill. And so I think it's something that's in demand from our current students. It's positively something that's in demand for our alums, and something that we didn't necessarily anticipate happened. So we shared it out with our current students, and the current students are sharing it out with all of their direct reports from a professional development perspective. And so it's really amazing the reach it can have. So we'll continue to be innovative in the types of educational offerings that we provide. And we also intend to use those skills academies to test demand for new content. And so, so you can think about it, to develop a new course, as I spoke earlier, like the investment just to create a 4-week MOOC, that's not even the high engagement portion. It's an extremely time-consuming investment. And so we want to ensure that we have an educational offering through which we can test demand for new content. And if there's outstanding demand, then it's a signal to us that we should invest and build out an entire course.
And that reminds me of an advantage to your program that we never even mentioned, and I'm embarrassed to say it. And that is, you don't have to sign up for the degree program right off the bat.
No.
You can try it out. So let's talk a little bit about that, because that is a really important difference.
Yes, it is. And so, from the very beginning, when we partnered with Coursera, we chose Coursera as a partner because they share our mission, but it also allowed for stackability. And so it allows individuals, from all over the world. Coursera now serves, I think, over 50 million unique users. They can come and they can take our MOOCs for free, right? So they can get exposed to what we offer at a very basic skill and competency level. And so it allows them to try it out. They can walk away with a specialization from Coursera and the University of Illinois. If they like that MOOC experience and they want to, the next step would be to apply as a non-degree student. And so let's say they took that specialization on the Coursera platform, they would get credit for taking those MOOCs, and they could take a degree credit-bearing course, but they would not have to apply to the degree program. And so they could try it out. And a lot of people do try it out. They think, I'm not sure if I want to learn online. I'm not sure if I'm ready to make the commitment to go back and pursue a graduate degree. But they're able to see the type of experience that we offer. Once they're enrolled as a non-degree student, then it's a simple process for them to apply to be admitted to the degree program. And if they are admitted, that course that they took as a non-degree student, those credit hours carry over. And so, they've made an investment that has value going forward. And so I think it really is a unique aspect of our program. And as we think about building out that additional set of educational offerings within and outside of the degree space, we are focused on stackability. We understand that not all learners want to pursue a graduate degree, but everyone is going to value that option. And so that's a way I believe that we can be differentiated.
Yeah, so I like the idea of trying it out and trying it out for credit. And then if you want more, you get more.
Yeah.
And then maybe you actually not only want to get more, but then you want to get a degree. And that's an incredible advantage, because you don't have to make a full and total commitment up front. Yeah,
that's exactly right. And one other I'll mention, just this spring at the University of Illinois, something that was approved, a new credential called the Campus Graduate Certificate. And so an individual could actually enroll in, let's say, the business analytics focus area within our IMBA program as a non-degree seeking student. They could take the 3 courses, which would be a 12 credit hour specialization, but they'll be able to walk away with a credential from the University of Illinois. And again, it's something that typically can be reimbursed from a tuition reimbursement program because it is credit bearing. And they can apply it later to the degree if they choose to apply and continue on with their degree studies.
Right. Good point. Now we have a bunch of questions. We have 10 minutes. So let's try some of these questions out from the audience. Yeah. And here's one from one of your current students who says, by the way, a confession, I am about to graduate and can tell you that the IMBA program exceeded greatly my expectations. So that's good news.
I love that.
My question, what are the new strategies to keep the alumni connected and converging? And what is the plan to leverage on the giant network we are creating?
Yeah, that's a great question. So just like I mentioned that we hired a new career strategist, we also just hired a new individual in the advancement office in the Gies College of Business that's fully embedded in online programs, tasked with developing and implementing a strategy around MBA alumni engagement. And that's all Gies MBA alums. Part of that will happen through the different meetup events and immersions that we already have in place. And as soon as we can travel again, we will be back out there. Another new innovation, in August, we're going to launch a new platform called People Grove. And that platform will be a place from a career service perspective that the entire network can come contribute opportunities, but we're also that our current students and alums will be able to come and seek out opportunities. They'll be able to stay on that platform as alums and continue to be engaged from a networking and a career perspective. And then again, once we can travel again, we will be back out seeing our students. One thing we're going to try in the lack of travel time, we're actually going to host a virtual immersion. And so we're working with an outside vendor to put together a very experiential learning opportunity focused global virtual immersion. So it will be, we love trying new things here. And so that will be coming soon to our students, and alums will be able to attend as well.
Very cool. Here's a question. How much time is actually spent by each faculty member teaching a course? Since it's at least partially a collaboration with MOOC and Coursera. Well, yes and no. Actually, while your collaboration with Coursera is basically based on distribution. And,
yes.
I mean, all the coursework, all the interventions, all the engagement is invented on your campus by your professors and your instructional designers, right?
Yes, that's exactly right. So Coursera, again, from a marketing perspective, is great because they have reach, right? And so they can promote out our program. From a student service perspective, they help us in terms of triaging questions. You can imagine once you have thousands of enrolled degree students, they have thousands and thousands of questions. And so they help that from a triage perspective. But in terms of design and delivery, it is our faculty. So our faculty, spend immense amount of time. John, I cited the stat earlier, just in terms of MOOC development, it's 60 to 80 hours. If you think about the type of investment that it would take to develop, if you're developing the high engagement portion, I've developed several high engagement courses, at least residentially. And, it's probably somewhere between 100 and 200 hours just from a development perspective. And then from a delivery perspective, when I say we have those live sessions, right? And it is the same lead faculty member that's delivering those 3 live sessions. And the amount of investment that it takes to actually prepare for one of those live deliveries, I would say probably 3 hours to every hour that you're going to deliver from a live session perspective. So it is not Coursera that brings that expertise. It is our faculty experts and the team that's built out to support that faculty expert. Every course has a lead instructor, 1 to 2 associate instructors who are our specialized faculty. Again, not from Coursera, it's our specialized faculty that have been hired for their specific knowledge. And then we typically have a team, a head TA, which is oftentimes a graduate student from the University of Illinois, and then a team of course assistants that help, from a grading perspective. But it is Illinois delivered and created.
So you can complete the program in as little as how much, and then how long can you take if you wanted to string it out? This is a question.
Yeah, so it's anywhere from 24 to 48 months. And we're accommodating, the graduate school required, our graduate college requires that you complete the degree within 5 years. But we are flexible, right? And so we try to provide that flexibility. Average time to completion is 2.4 years, which is pretty remarkable. If you think about that, a traditional MBA program takes 2 years to complete. We do offer that flexibility, but students still stay on track. The retention rate in our program is 95%, and we measure that as enrolling in consecutive terms. So if a student enrolls in one term, they tend to enroll in the next term as well.
Mm-hmm. Now here's a question, and I bet you this is a question that is often a topic of discussion on your campus, among you and Jeff, the dean. And is this: how does the program plan to maintain the quality and student experience in the program after enrolling so many students? And do you think that a huge enrollment would affect the quality long term?
Yeah, so you're right, John. This is a discussion that Jeff and I always have. And
I've heard part of this.
Yeah. So when I talk about the people, probably one of the top 5 questions that I get is, how big are you going to get? And I always say, it's mission consistent to provide education to as many as desire it and are committed to pursuing it. But there are 2 things that will limit it. One is demand for the type of education that we offer. And I think initially that was a constraint, meaning our capacity was far greater than the demand for what we offered. That is not true now. The other binding constraint is our ability to offer the student and educational experience that we're known for at scale. And if at any point in time, I believe we're not able to do that, we will slow down. We are known for high quality business education, and we're not willing to make a trade-off there. Because the campus has made investments in us and the college continues to make large investments in the online space, I'm very confident in our ability to continue to innovate. When I talk about our e-learning team, we have a very large e-learning team. If you think about the full-time, so we have full-time employees, we have academic hourlies, and we also have graduate students. That's a 61-person team, and we currently have 16 open positions to hire to that team. So the way we can continue to innovate is by building out that e-learning team and also continuing to attract our top faculty to deliver on our program. And as I mentioned earlier, John, the faculty are calling me, right, and saying, hey, Brooke, they're pitching me ideas. I would love to develop and deliver X course in the IMBA program. And so I'm very confident in our ability to continue to offer the quality that we're known for.
Now, here's a question from someone in Asia who asked, how do you handle the live sessions in terms of the different time zones around the world?
Yeah, so for every course, we run 3 live sessions. And we run those live sessions over multiple time zones. And so we have a global population of students enrolled. We represent over 100 countries. We typically run one early in the morning, one in the afternoon, and then one in the evening or night. And it's very accommodating to students from all over the world. And you can see, I mean, the commitment from our faculty, again, it is the lead faculty member, that tenured faculty member that's delivering those courses. And so, they're committed to providing that engaging experience to all students.
Here's another one. Are there metrics to evaluate how much students actually connect with each other and extract that value, that networking value?
Yeah, that's a good question. We survey. Sometimes I feel like we survey our students to death. I cited earlier. I cited earlier. Around engagement. We don't parse that question out in terms of engagement with the faculty member versus engagement with the network. That's something positively we could consider going forward. Most of what I have is just anecdotal, in terms of the student stories and the alumni stories and what I see, right, in terms of the level of engagement.
Right. Okay, well, look, we're running out of time here. So I want to just say you are about to hit another landmark number. Why don't you tell us about it?
Yes. So this year in August, we're going to cross 1,000 graduates from the IMBA program. So we will have 1,000 alums of the Gies IMBA. And we're just so proud of that fact. If you think, that we launched the program in 2016, to cross 1,000 in 2020 is a little bit unbelievable. And given our current trajectory with enrolled students and that growing applications, right, that number is going to grow exponentially. And what it means from a network perspective is that our network is rapidly expanding. And so the access to that network, the access to those types of opportunities is really unbounded.
Great. And that's August 10th as the actual graduation.
Yes.
There you go. So I want to remind everyone of something I mentioned very early on, that the next application deadline for the October cohort, and that's the first time there'll be an October intake in the IMBA, is August 15th, which is a little under a month away. So it's easy to apply. It's not long and drawn out. You don't have to have a GMAT or a GRE to apply. The acceptance rate, I just want to point out, you don't accept everybody. In fact,
no,
the acceptance rate is something like 53% according to your website. So you're looking for, people who have, who can do the work, who are committed to the program, who have a good job, and have work experience that they can bring into the program and share with their classmates. So, Brooke, thank you so much for really an insightful conversation. I really enjoyed it. I'm sure our audience did too.
Well, thank you, John. I appreciate the opportunity. And thank you also for wearing the Gies IMBA shirt today.
Yes, here we go.
Love it.
It's a different one than you have, but it
is.
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us. This is John Byrne with Poets&Quants. And Brooke Elliott, the Associate Dean of Online Programs at the University of Illinois, Gies College of Business. Thanks for joining us.